Well, hello, this is Mike from Music City, and welcome to 2022. Hopefully, we will have a lot of video for you to watch this year, things that you find interesting. And I'm going to do something I've been kind of thinking about doing for a couple of days here. And I do a lot of reading of rock and roll biographies, and I just like to kind of share with you on a couple of new ones and old ones that I've recently read and let you know what I think about them and sort of make this a recurrent feature. I hope you like it. We've done a little bit before about this. I think I broke it out between bios and autobios, and I think I was kind of telling you what I thought my best was. And I'm going to focus on, like I said, just what I'm reading lately. And let me start off with two new ones that I've read. The first is Unrequited Infatuations, the autobiography by Steve Van Zandt. Notably known to most of us as the guitar player in the E Street Band since 1975, and a long-term friend of Bruce Springsteen. He also is Silvio on The Sopranos. He did a great job in the in the Netflix series Lilyhammer. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. But this book, I do still recommend it. I think it's a very interesting book, a very fascinating book. The early stuff is great about them guys growing up in Asbury Park. But let me tell you something. This is another bio where I kind of walk away really not liking the person as much as I did before I read the bio. Let's just face it, this guy has got one big ego. And it's been a common thread in a lot of the reviews I've read about the book and comments I've read on chat rooms. Some people it doesn't bother. It didn't bother me, but it's just kind of like, Steve, I really don't want to hang out with you and get to know you. Just your ego really would get in the way. It just seems like that he's had all these great ideas about everybody else, and he told them what to do, and if they didn't do it, it was their mistake. And he takes credit for a lot of things that others did as being his idea that he told them. And we haven't seen any denials or collaborations. So who knows what to think. He has led a fascinating life. There's no doubt about it. He's been a successful, so he's a very talented person. There's no doubt about it. But modesty isn't one of your features. What's the quote from Ted Turner? If I was only humble, I'd be perfect. And maybe there's a little bit to tell you there, Steve. But again, I do recommend it. I think you'll enjoy reading it. The political stuff is really intense. He's got some wacky ideas. And it's not, just whether you're on the left or the right, you're going to think some of these ideas of his are a little wacky. He takes way too much credit, for what Sun City did and then apartheid. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's not that he claims that they ended it, but they said they accelerated, and maybe they did. He did a great job with that. I don't deny it. But it's very interesting how he talks about his relationship with Mandela, or the lack of a relationship with Mandela, the surprising lack of any kind of relationship with Nelson Mandela for all that he did. So read it and let me know what you think in the comments. Now, the next one, an artist that's long been one of my favorites. I've been with his career almost all the way, a long haul. I'm going to be doing a ranking records on him pretty soon. I think he's got like 25 albums. I think I'm going to split it into two pieces. But this is not an autobiography. This is a biography by someone named Michael Elliott, and it's on the great, great John Hiatt. It's called Have a Little Faith. Before we get into the book, of interest, I know I've got a lot of Elvis Costello friends on the site, and Elvis wrote a very short forward to the book, which is interesting. And in typical Elvis style, it's more about Elvis than it is about John Hiatt, but it was interesting nonetheless. And again, this is another book where, and again, if you're a Hiatt fan, definitely read it. You will like it. You will enjoy it. My only comment about this book really is that the earlier parts of the book were a lot better than the end. It seemed like near the end, Mr. Elliott ran out of material, and it, or wasn't a lot of fresh interviews and material, and it was kind of like, went to the studio, released an album, went on tour, went in the studio, released an album, went on tour. It just kind of got redundant near the end, and it was kind of hurrying, make sure he covered all the bases. Where earlier in the book, much more embellishment about John's life. And boy, he had a tough life. I don't know if you know a lot of the struggles he went through. And I think the book does a pretty good job of of talking about that and, the highs and lows in their careers. And the one thing goes without saying, I love John. You're going to see when I do the ranking records, I really love pre-Americana John. I think, the new Americana John isn't my favorite John, although he's put out some good records in that sort of folky, side of things that he tends to lean towards more than being a rocker. And sadly, his voice just is really struggling lately. I really, the last couple of shows I saw, I really felt for him that he's just really having a hard time singing. And I listened to a little bit of the new album that he did with Jerry Douglas, and it's pretty evident on there that his voice is not what it used to be. But again, 2 new books. Now let's look at some old books. Now, I took these on vacation with me down the beach. The first one I read down there was one, God, I bought this a long time ago, and this book came out quite some time ago. It came out in 2007, and it's called Heaven and Hell, and it's by Don Felder, the guitar player in the Eagles. Joined them. What did he join them on? I just read the book and I can't remember. I think he joined it for the On the Border record. But he made his real claim to fame on the Hotel California, which is the song that he co-wrote and came up with the musical bit for it. But this is a really fascinating book. Now, I've always been a big fan of Don Felder, and it dates back to seeing him play as guitarist for a folk singer named David Blue. And it was just one of these series of events where I was going to concerts in New York, and I think I saw David Blue 3 times in 2 weeks, opening up for various different people, and it was just him and Don Felder. And by the 3rd night, we gave Don Felder, my friends and I gave Don Felder a standing ovation. He was such a fantastic guitar player. But again, this is a fascinating look at a very, very, messed up band, the Eagles. I mean, and just to give you an idea of it, he refers to Henley and Fry as the gods, and he said that's what the other guys in the band called them. And they're, again, talking about egos, it really kind of got out of control with those 2 guys. And Felder does a good job of telling a story. He's had a fascinating career, and talks a lot about his very fascinating and interesting life. He's a very, very motivated guy, and does all kind. He learned how to fly planes and do this, that, and the other thing. I mean, just whatever he put his mind to, he did very well, and I'm very proud of him. You feel very proud of what he's accomplished in his life after reading it. Now, I've got a straight bio on the bio on the Eagles that's written by Mark Elliott, who not the same, not Michael Elliott, who did the Hiatt book. I'm going to get Mark Elliott. I'm looking forward to reading to kind of see how the story looks from other perspectives. And I don't think Henley or Fry have written anything. Well, because Glenn is not with us anymore. I don't think he got the chance to write his memoirs, and I don't think Henley has yet either. So it'll be interesting to see, though, what this other bio kind of says a story, and if he corroborates this stuff that Felder said. The next book, this is another one that sat on my shelf forever, and I can't believe this is from 1999. And it's an artist I'd love, and I just can't believe I didn't read this book. It's A Cure for Gravity by Joe Jackson. And I really enjoyed this book, and it's very different from a lot of the autobiographies that you see. First off, it ends at his recording, when his recording career starts. So he really just doesn't, although he had a lot of music happen between, 77 and 99, he doesn't really go into that. He stops, once he gets the record deal and starts, the first album and all that. But the other thing about it is it just has very, very interesting embellishments. His perspective on growing up, his perspective on life, just not fact, just a lot of really interesting color. He's a great writer. And it was really nice just seeing the world of growing up in the UK through Joe Jackson's eyes. I really enjoyed this one. Now, Joe, write another one. You've got a lot to talk about. I'd just love to hear how he went through all those different musical changes and musical styles. So definitely recommend this one. Now, the last one, I'm saving this for release. This is a book that just absolutely blew me away. And I want to thank whoever commented on my Graham Parsons record ranking to tell me about this book. And again, this is, I'm looking for the date. This is a little older. This came out in 2011. And although Graham Parsons is on the cover, I feel that's a really disservice to this book. It's called Breakfast in Nudie Suits. And the caption here says, the quote from Uncut Magazine, the most intimate account of Graham Parsons' early years. Well, yeah, that's true. There's a lot of stuff about Graham in here you never heard before. Now, Ian Dunlop is the author. Ian was the bassist in one of Graham's very early bands, the International Submarine Band, and he wasn't even there to record the record, but he and Graham clearly were good friends, stayed in touch afterwards. And what this is, though, and it's fascinating. I mean, fascinating. Ian is such a fantastic writer with a great memory. He did a great job of putting together dialogue, of stuff that happened, 40 years ago. It's Ian leaving California and driving to Connecticut, driving across the country in the late 60s and just giving a really great perspective on, the trip and what he saw in America at the time, and fills it in with flashbacks about Graham and, their relationship with the actor Brandon Wild. One of the interesting things for me is that one of his sidekicks on the travel across the country is Barry Tashin, who was in the band The Remains, lives here in Nashville, and his son is Daniel Tashin in my favorite band, The Silver Sea, so it's kind of interesting to have that connection there, and I've met Barry on several occasions. He's a really great guy, so that was kind of cool. But I'm telling you, just one of the most enjoyable books I've read in ages, and I really recommend it. And thank you, whoever recommended it to me. Breakfast in Nudie Suits. You really will enjoy this, whether you're a Graham Parsons fan or not. It's got that sort of Kerouac, on the road style to it. Fascinating book. So there's 5 books that I've read recently. Got a whole bookshelf there. I still think I may have more books that I haven't read than I have read. But I hope you enjoyed this. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you think about them. Sorry, Steve, for being so hard on you, but that's the way I felt about your book. And let me know any recommendations of other books I should read, and we'll kind of keep this as a recurring thing. Again, Mike from Music City, wishing you a Happy New Year, signing off. If you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button, please like and share. We'll be back at you soon. My next project is going to be that John Hiatt ranking records. Hopefully I'll get it to later this week. Take care now.